Swords. Greetings, Traveler, I'm SnapJelly, and this video is not a fight review. I should say that beforehand. Also, I am gonna say that there are gonna be spoilers in this video if you've not seen Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, and you want to see it and you don't want to get spoiled, you should not watch this video, because, like I said, this video is not a fight review. What did I call this series? I did one of these videos before, like Movie Night or something, I don't know. Basically, I just watched the episode myself, and for now, I really just want to talk about the things that lingered in my mind, the things that I remember, the things that I like and the things that I don't like. And overall, I gotta say that I did like it. I did like it a lot. And most of the things that I did not like so much, really in my eyes, came down to budget costs, probably. Or not necessarily that, you know, or that it like would be more expensive if they did a more logical thing, arguably, which is sad, but you know, an episode like this would cost weeks and insane amounts of money to produce. So I get it, but you know, still, whatever. Let's just begin. Like the first thing. Let's just say the first thing, right? The White Walkers, they can pretty much summon anything that's dead, but not just humans, right? Logically, you would say that there'd be a lot more animals in his army. I mean, like they got attacked once by like a fucking polar bear, which a lot of people didn't like apparently, but I thought it was dope. Like, if I was the Night King, I'd want some fucking polar bears in my army, right? But no, like, his entire army is just made out of humans. And, like, there's some giants, but you know, basically, oh, by the way, the zombie giant that was actually smart enough to use a club, thank you. So, Wun, you can suck a big, fat, giant, hairy mammoth dick. And there were no mammoths in the army either. Which, you know, they teased us with when the wildlings, they attacked the wall with mammoths, and then they were never ever used again. If I were the Night King, I'd want some fucking mammoths in my army. But there was probably no money to CG all of that, because they had to CG the dragons, which was dope, as well. But, you know, still say, I don't get why fucking Narnia has the money to CG animals in their army, and Game of Thrones does not. Let's just say that. Okay, so first, battle tactics. Once again, they fucking start with a cavalry charge. Once again, and I gotta say, again, I honestly think that it would just be too expensive to have the cavalry just intertwine with the battle later on, to have humans walking and cavalry charging in the back. So they really just wanted to get rid of it right from the start. That's what I think. But it makes absolutely no sense, because it was very dark. I mean, not for the viewers, I mean, for the characters, right? They had they didn't hear anything. They had no view of what's going on. And then Melisandre, she lights their swords on fire, which makes you very narrow-sighted, right? If you're adjusted to the darkness, you can kind of see, not a lot, but you can kind of see, right? But now you have this torch here, which makes your eyes adjust to the light, so you can't see shit. You can't see anything that's in front of you, and you have the sound of the fucking horses, so you can't hear your enemy coming. Which is kind of what they were going for, because the cavalry charged and then all of a sudden they were like, they met with this force and they got destroyed, right? But just logically, in terms of tactics, it's dumb. It's a complete waste of people in cavalry, because cavalry is so powerful. What you'd want cavalry to do is charge from the sides. And now, of course, the Army of the Dead doesn't really have, morale doesn't really play as much of a role as it does with humans, of course. So arguably cavalry would be more valuable against humans than it would be against zombies. And by the way, I'm just gonna say zombies because I can't pronounce wrights. That doesn't sound right. So, I'm just gonna say zombies. Anyway, but still, you know, you'd want the infantry, heavy infantry, to take the brunt of the force, and then your light cavalry, which dothraki basically is, you'd want them to charge from the side. Also, I'd like to say that Melisandre lighting those swords on fire, that was probably the coolest shit I've ever seen. And I don't say that very quickly. I'm usually very critical for the people that watch my channel. And they probably know I bitch about everything. Every little thing. I can bitch about anything. But that was dope. But in the end, it was, you know, all pointless. Which is probably what they were going for. But still. Also, I have a question. Because, you know, in the show you can kill the zombies with dragonglass. But they can also be killed with normal weapons, right? Because if you look at the massacre at Hardhome, is that what it's called? Hardhome? Nobody really had dragonglass weapons there, and they killed some, right? It arguably was harder, but, you know, they killed some. And also the Dothraki, they didn't have any dragonglass weapons. They just used their rocks, which are supposedly, you know, steel or iron. And they didn't know Melisandre was going to show up and light them on fire before the battle. That was just, you know, an in-the-moment thing. And they were like, yay, we have fire now. This is great. So, supposedly you can still kill them with steel, right? Or can't you? No one knows. If you can't, and they were still sending a dothraki in first, that would be an absolute waste. It was just like, we don't need these people. You know, it's just bullshit. Also, just in terms of formation that they chose, because they did have catapults and trebuchets, right? But if you looked at it, you had the dothraki first, then you had catapults and trebuchets, and then you had the Unsullied, you know, the infantry. Which is not a smart formation to have, because they fired their catapults and trebuchets once. They fired them once, and then they ceased fire, supposedly because otherwise they would hit their own units, right? Which is, it's not very smart if you want to shoot catapults to have your units charge on horses, so be very fast, to go to the spot that you're firing your catapults at. That's not a smart thing to do. And afterwards, the zombies, they destroyed the dothraki, right? And then they came charging. And the Unsullied didn't move ahead of the catapults. The zombies, they charged over the catapults into the Unsullied. So basically, the catapults and the trebuchet, they were useless. You'd want them to be useful throughout the entire fight, right? So what you'd want is your infantry to be there first, and you want your artillery, right, your catapults and shit, in the back, so that they can constantly fire over your infantry into the enemy units. And I have the same thing with the archers, because supposedly there were archers on the walls. You really only saw them fire when the zombies were already at the walls. You could assume that they were firing constantly, but, you know, it's kind of a thing for me. If you want to defend your castle by having your troops in front of the wall, you'd want them to at least be close enough so that the archers on the wall can shoot over your forces into your enemy's forces continuously. Because that's really what it's about. You know, it's about stopping enemy forces and then inflicting heavy damage on them. Which I also don't quite get why they decided to fight in front of the castle rather than in the castle. At first I thought that maybe the castle was not big enough for all the soldiers that they had to be inside of the castle. Because they had like thousands and thousands of men, right? That's what I thought at first. But, you know, after the people in front got crushed, because that's basically what happened, they got so overrun, they got absolutely crushed by the zombies, right? They immediately yelled, pull back, and they opened the gates and they just rushed in. So clearly there was plenty of space inside, you know. I think that you'd want as much people inside your walls to defend the inside of your walls, because that's basically the strongest point of a castle, you know, inside the walls. You don't want to be outside the walls. So, it makes sense for the cavalry to be outside the walls. It made sense for some infantry, like like the Unsullied, to be outside the walls. But if there's more space inside the walls for more people inside the walls, I'd want more people inside the walls, probably. Also, they made sure to have every person in Westeros or in the north or whatever train to fight for this fight. But basically, if you're not a warrior, then the best thing they could arm you with is a bow at this point. Because if you have just an obsidian tipped arrow, you don't even have to stand on the wall. You can stand behind the wall, inside the castle, and shoot over the wall. Because the zombies, they're just running, they're massing, they're piling on top of each other usually. If it's a human formation, if it's a really tight formation, they're probably protecting themselves. And if it's not that tight of a formation, there's space in between them, right? But the zombies, they don't care, they just run, they pile up. So you only have to shoot in the masses and you'll hit something at some point, right? It doesn't even have to be a super strong bow. It only has to, you know, go over the wall. And you can have the warriors do all the actual fighting on the wall. And the people who don't know how to fight can handle a bow and just twang arrows over it aimlessly, basically. You don't really have to have good aim. All you have to do is shoot in masses. And that would do huge amounts of damage. The formations of the Unsullied, though, they're not really particularly effective. I'm glad that they finally made the Unsullied to an actual spear formation, like an actual shield wall or phalanx or whatever the fuck you call it. But once again, the same with the bolt and shield wall, the kind of phalanx that they do is just not efficient. Like, if the Unsullied would have, first off, larger shields, because they have tiny shields, they need larger shields, and if longer spears, and just have a phalanx that has multiple rows, right? zombies, they would impale themselves on the spears, like a Macedonian phalanx, right? Zombies would impale themselves on the spears because they have nowhere else to go, and they're just being pushed forward by the other people. And they would probably still get crushed and overrun soon enough, but at least they do something, because the way it looked now is just, they couldn't see anywhere, they couldn't see anything because it was dark, and the zombies were there, and they just got boom, and they got overrun, which was awesome. It looked cool, but damn, it really makes you wonder how all those main characters that were in the front line actually ever got anywhere, because they should have just been crushed under the feet of the zombies. Also, the thing that everybody was carrying dragonglass weapons, pretty much, which I might make a separate video ranting about that a little bit, but I know that story-wise you need dragonglass to kill the wrights, right, the zombies or whatever, or you don't need it, but it's more efficient either way. Anyway, I think in terms of logistics, they really just did it to have extras and actors be able to hit each other efficiently, because I think that the dragonglass weapons were just easier to make out of foam, like to make them into LARP weapons, so that actors could actually, smack each other, because it was such chaos, so they would just go rah rah without actually hurting each other. So that's what I think, at least. And because there are some scenes with Jorah at the end where the sword that he uses, it looks extremely light and it looks extremely thick if you pause it at the right moments, and you're like, okay, it's a foam sword. Logically, it'd be a foam sword because you don't want people to hurt each other, but still. That's what I think, at least, about the dragonglass. I also don't like what happened to the Hound. This is the second time that the Hound bitched out of a battle. And the Hound was supposedly such a tough guy, right? When he was introduced, he was this tough brute. And later we learned that he did have feelings and trauma and whatever. But still, come on. When did he become such a softie? Like, that's the last guy that I expected to pussy out from the fight. Even fucking Podrick didn't pussy out of the fight, but, the Hound somehow pussied out of the fight. Also, I want to talk about Arya's weapon. It's a double-edged spear that she can take apart. That sounds nice on paper. In practicality, that wouldn't work so much, because as soon as you stab somebody, clung, and your spear gets stuck, if you want to pull it back, you actually just leave out one end. It sticks in your opponent, it's stuck, and now you're left with just a much shorter single-edged spear. Which, for camera that doesn't matter, but in terms of realism and practicality, that probably won't work. I also don't get why Arya was all of a sudden scared. She was outside, kicking zombie ass, just plowing them down with fair ease. She got in a bit of trouble later, but nothing serious. And then all of a sudden she was inside this library, and there were like 5 or 6 zombies there, and she was just terrified of them. I was like, you killed way more than that just a few seconds ago. Why are you scared now? I mean, if you weren't scared before, why are you scared now? Is that experience of being in a bit of trouble, did that all of a sudden make you scared? You've been in trouble before, so why is this all of a sudden make you scared? It was kind of strange in my eyes. And later she just jumps towards the Night King, not scared at all anymore. So I guess they just wanted to change the scenery and make like a sneaking portion of the fight. Which, to me, I mean, it's not like I don't enjoy it, because, like, if you look at the scene in Harry Potter, for example, like the last Harry Potter film where they were trying to kill the snake with the tooth and they were kind of sneaking behind it, I like that a lot, that concept. But I expected that to happen with the White Walkers, not with the zombies. What I expected from this fight was that, because there was a lot of fighting in this battle, but there weren't a lot of fights. I expected the main cast to be fighting the White Walkers, and there to be a battle in the background, right? Because the White Walkers, they were introduced as these badasses, right? And hardly anyone has ever killed one. Like Sam killed one, which was kind of an accident, and Jon killed one, which is also kind of an accident, and so they're these beasts, these strong beasts, and they were there, and there were like 12 of them, 15 of them, and they did nothing. They did nothing in the entire battle, and the Night King died like a bitch. I'm like, the entire build-up of the show, 8 seasons of build-up, is to have a standoff with the Night King, right? I don't care that it wasn't Jon. I'm kind of glad that it wasn't Jon, actually, that killed the Night King, but I wanted somebody to fight him, or fight a White Walker. I wanted somebody to fight someone, but instead everything was just hack and slash. Everything was hack and slash, right? I expected there for the main cast to try to kind of walk around Winterfell or in the crypts or wherever the fuck they would be. And, you know, there would be White Walkers around every corner and they would, you know, try to get the drop of them, try to get them with, you know, they'd have to, like, find weapons that they could use to kill them and stuff like that, like, so Valyrian steel or dragonglass and things like that. And like, who would kill the Night King? But in the end, the Night King was just kind of not there. And then he was there. He flew around on a dragon, which didn't do much, and then he fell off. And then he kind of just walked towards Bran. He killed Theon, which was kind of lame, to be honest. It's like they tried to make Theon die like a hero, but in my eyes, it kind of didn't deliver. It's because, you know, he was the last guy standing, and then it was just like, okay, well, I'm in charge of the Night King now. Sure, good luck. And then all of a sudden Arya and the Night King dies. Right, and everything, just like all the White Walkers, they didn't do shit in the entire battle. The Night King didn't do shit. He didn't fight anyone. He was just there. So for the entire show, he was kind of just there. I think it's unsatisfying. It's unsatisfying how he died. Let's just say that. You know, like, maybe a standoff or a fight or something was just too cliche. And I actually like the fact that when you see Jon chasing him, that he raises the wrights and, you know, prevents Jon from coming close to him. I thought that was very smart. At that point, I was like, oh shit, right. I mean, I knew Jon wasn't going to die there, but still, I was like, oh yeah, shit, that's a thing he could do. I forgot about that. I actually did. But then I was like, okay, so it's not going to be Jon. Who is going to fight the Night King? Not just kill him like a little bitch, stabbing him in the back, basically. Okay, he saw it and she did the cool knife droppy trick thing, but still, come on, she stabbed him in the back. Right? She stabbed him in the back. That is so unsatisfying. Yeah. We still don't know anything about him or about what he... I mean, yeah, we know something, like the Children of the Forest made him with a piece of dragonglass and whatever, but fuck that. Fuck that. It's so unsatisfying. I've been ranting for quite a while, so I think I'm gonna cut it here. I am gonna make more serious videos about this fight in the future, but if you guys know me, you'll know that I usually only talk about things like 2 years after they're no longer relevant, so it might take a while. Last thing I would want to say is that it is going to take a long ass time to clean up all those bodies. There's hundreds of thousands of bodies just piled up at Winterfell now. And you're going to have to put them somewhere. You can't bury them all. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with them? Gosh, pile them all up and burn them. But then you'd have to scoop the ashes somewhere. So that is going to take a long time to clean. And there's not a lot of people left. I wonder if they actually think about that, or if they're just going to brush over that in the next episode. They're probably just going to brush over it. But anyway, if you're stuck around this long, you might as well subscribe. Also follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. And thank you for joining my quest. I hope you'll join me in the next one. Bye, guys.